Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'd like to talk about microphones, specifically the Shure SM7B, this boy here. Now I bought one of these a while ago and the first thing that happened was I was a little bit disappointed. Let me explain my disappointment, because my old microphone, which is, or was, no it is, it's still here. It is a Samson CO1U, it's a USB microphone, it has an amplifier built in, but it needs to sit in a shock mount and it needs a pop shield to sit in front of it, otherwise you get pops and shocks and all manner of stuff going on. The 7B, which is a popular microphone amongst streamers and YouTubers and podcasters, has a pop shield built into it. It also has a shock mount sort of built into the microphone body itself, and it is very good in that respect. And a lot of people use it. You've probably seen this microphone, well, probably a lot on YouTube because that's where the video is, and a lot on Twitch. But if this is your first big boy microphone, you might run into a few problems, as I did, because this doesn't plug in using USB, it plugs in using XLR, which is this big boy here. And you're going to need an amplifier. Now what I did, kind of naively, is I bought the 7B and then I bought myself an amplifier, not this one but something similar, and then I had to crank all the dials all the way up to 11 because this boy was very incredibly quiet. So quiet, in fact, that it caused some artifacts. Once everything had been cranked up in on the amplifier and in Windows, I was getting popping and clicking and all manner of stuff, and I was very sad. So I went into some audio forums, and the audio forum said, yeah, you're gonna need like a $1,300 amplifier that sits in a cabinet, and then you're gonna need to get some mercury to float the whole thing on. And so, no, it got very complicated very quickly, when it didn't need to get complicated, because yes, you do need an amplifier to run your 7B, but it's a dark microphone. It doesn't have an amplifier built into it. There's no preamp built into the microphone. Which means if you turn on phantom power, that extra 48 volts of juice that you can put into microphones, it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. It's just like, ooh, I don't know what to do with that. I mean, it's not going to burn the microphone out. It just literally doesn't use it. So I looked around for a while and I was like, why is my new very nice microphone being a pain in my butt? And it turns out that one of the things that a lot of the podcasters and YouTubers and Twitch streamers use is something called a preamp. That is, before it gets to your amplifier, so before you plug in your XLR microphone, you go from the XLR from here to here. There is something in between, and that is called a preamp. So there are a few that you may have heard of. The Cloud Lifter is one that you may have heard of, and a Cloud Lifter is, I think it's an American-made preamp, and you need two XLR cables, so two cables, one to go from the microphone into the Cloud Lifter, and then from the Cloud Lifter into your amplifier. There are a couple of other ways of doing this. The other one is a dynamite stick, which is a red preamp, and it sits in line with your microphone. You only need one XLR cable because you plug the dynamite stick into your microphone, and then the XLR cable goes directly into your amplifier. But wait, what does a preamp do? I'll explain that momentarily, because there is a third option, and that third option is the fathead, which is this big silver boy here. It's been in all of the videos where you can see my 7B. It's been here all the time. This is the fathead. It's made in the Netherlands. It comes in a little tube like this, and it's tiny. It does use phantom power. And all of these devices, the Cloud Lifter, the dynamite stick, and the fathead, add around 27 to 28 decibels of gain before ever touching your amplifier. So the signal is boosted at this point before getting here, which means instead of cranking all the dials up, you can actually turn them down a little bit. Usually about a third, only about a third of the power is required once you've added your preamp into the mix. Now I went with the fathead, partly because they're made in Europe and I am living kind of in Europe, and partly because I think it was the cheapest option. And this There are two versions of the Fathead, one which passes phantom power through, which I didn't need, and a basic one which just absorbs the phantom power and gives you that sweet, sweet 27 decibels of gain. And if you don't know what gain is, if this is your first time with a 7B, you've bought one, you've bought yourself a mixer, and you're like, ooh, but what is gain? Think of it like volume. You're making the signal bigger, so you're adding more volume to it. That's the most basic way I can describe it. I do have an amplifier. I've had a couple of amplifiers, but it's worth noting that I don't use an amplifier. So I go from the Fathead through the XLR cable into a mixing desk, and then the mixing desk goes from USB into my laptop. And the mixer that I use is a Behringer Xenix 802 USB. Not that you needed to know that, but that's what I use. And the reason I use a mixer instead of just a straight amplifier is so that I can change the highs and the mids from the microphone as it goes into the system. So I can do a little bit of graphic equalization on the way in, so I don't have to do it when I come to edit the videos. So I don't need to add extra bits and pieces to the actual file that's saved. So that's kind of the easiest way that I found of doing it. And the Xenix 802, fairly cheap, and the Fathead is going to be a bit more expensive. The Dynamite stick is going to be more expensive, and I think the Cloud Lifter is the most expensive preamp option, but it's definitely something you need with your 7B. So if you've bought yourself a 7B, because you've seen it on the internet, you've seen it on Twitch, you've seen it on your favorite podcasters' video streams or whatever, then chances are they either have something like this here in line, or on the floor will be something like a Cloud Lifter. That's the preamp. That's giving you an extra 27 to 28 decibels of gain. That's the bit that you're probably missing, and that's the bit you need to make your Shure SM7B microphone work. And maybe even other microphones that are dark and don't have a preamp built in. That was a little bit technical, but I wanted to keep the video fairly short. I don't think there's anything else I need to go through. No, I think that's it. So, oh yeah, the 50 Hertz hum, just as a little tag onto the end of the video. So you have your microphone. It might not be a Shure SM7B. It might just be an XLR microphone, and you've plugged it into your amplifier, and your amplifier has, well, this one uses USB power, so it's not a good example, but you've plugged your amplifier into the mains as a way of powering it. And your laptop, which you're recording on, is also plugged into the mains, as is your computer and all your lights, and you get this buzz, this bzzz. Well, that's the 50 Hertz hum. And the 50 Hertz hum happens when you have a lot of stuff plugged in. It's their ground loop. It's a ground loop issue. Either you are cranking up your gain too high and you're amplifying that buzz along with the rest of the signal. You don't need to do that because you can compress the signal once you're on the computer, or you have a ground loop problem, too many things plugged into the same bus bar. Now there is a way around that, and I can I do this without messing anything up? I can possibly. So bonk. If I pull this out of the system, this is a ground loop isolator. It's a big lump of ferrous metal, and the cable is coiled on the inside of it. If you absolutely cannot isolate the hum, and you are going through an analog system instead of a USB system, USB should get rid of it. But an analog, if you're going through the analog system, get yourself a ground loop isolator, and that should clean up the signal at a cost of a little bit of gain, a little bit of volume. So excellent. If you found that useful, definitely leave a little like, leave a subscribe, because those help the video and the channel. If you have any comments, leave them down below, and I'll tell you what, I'll catch you next time. All right, audio and video and everything are recording, and I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, and I'm deaf. Every time, right in the ear hole. I'm going to use the little mirror to check my... Oh yeah, no, hair is completely stupid. Whatever, haven't been able to get to a hairdresser in about a year.